Burn Aggro, do you? Well, you've come to the right place. More about Burn Aggro, do you? Well, you've come to the right place. In this guide, I will help you how to play the deck, how to beat the deck, and in general, just how to think as a Burn Aggro player. First, I will take some look at some statistics at how Burn Aggro performs in different matchups. Then, I will guide you through the mulligan phase, give you some general tips and tricks, what you're looking for and how you need to think. And then I will help you with the rest of the game until the victory screen so that you can claim those sweet ladder points. Let's go and take a look. So recently Mobalytics opened their stats for anyone to check out. And the stats encompasses everyone who has used their Mobalytics deck tracker. So it allows you to see what decks are popular, what decks are good, how do the decks look like, what matchups are they good in, etc. It's not bulletproof, but it gives you a pretty good idea of what's going on in the meta right now. So I would highly recommend anyone watching this video to check it out. Now, as for Burn, you will find it pretty easily here. If you have on all ranks, if you filter by master, you will still find it pretty high here at second place. It is also the deck with the highest play rate in the game right now, especially below master. So it's a pretty popular deck overall. As for the matchups and how it performs, in general, the deck will do well against mid-range decks that are dependent on playing for a big board. While it will struggle against two types of decks. One is any kind of control-heavy deck, especially with Shadow Isles. Because board control in itself, or board removal, isn't enough to beat Burn, but if you have both removal and healing, which you generally find in the Shadow Isle package, the deck will struggle quite a lot. The other type of deck that generally beats this is very aggro heavy decks that focuses on the board. So we can see, for example, here, Demacia Noxus. It has a very low play rate, so you can't really take, you have to take these stats with like a grain of salt. But like an aggro Demacia with like Lucian and stuff, House Spider, etc., will generally do very well against it because it will take control of the board and overwhelm you before you can burn them out. And the same here goes for Misfortune and Quinn with Scouts. Scouts has decent board control. They have very strong early game units, and the Scout tag allows them to race you down very fast. So in general, they will struggle a bit with those decks, and we can see here with PNC Shadow Isles, that's the Karina deck, which again has a lot of board control, plus the healing, which I was talking about earlier. But against most other decks, I would say Burn is favored against almost all of them. Any kind of Heimerdinger V, the deck will generally do very well against. Karma Astral, it will generally just destroy. Lux, Karma, it's almost even, but it's slightly favored for Burn as well. And then you have pretty much any Frillier deck just loses automatically, almost. And against like Bannerman and stuff, it's pretty much even. And I guess you have Joink decks as well, in which case I would say Burn generally wins, but it's somewhat close. So yeah, that's just as a general rule of thumb. The decks and the matchups Burn generally do well against. So, when learning how to mulligan with Burn, you need to keep in mind how the deck actually wants to play. Because unlike traditional aggro decks, especially for example the old school Spider aggro deck, you don't play for like a wide, strong board. What you instead play for is a decent, like a strong early game, like the first 3 rounds, where you want to get chip damage in with your units, and then after that you don't really care about the board state all that much. What you want to focus on after that is to make sure you get in as much burn damage as possible while delaying your opponent killing you for as long as possible. Because every turn you get to survive is another turn you can draw into a Get Excited, draw into a Decimate, etc, etc. So what does this mean for a mulligan? Well, first off, you really need to start off with units, especially 1-drops. Not having something to put down on turn 1 against certain decks can almost just lose you the game instantly. Like, let's take for example something like a Heimerdinger V deck. So if you don't have a 1-drop, I mean, you can still draw into Boom Crew on 2, and there isn't really anything Astral can punish you with if you drop the Boom Crew on 2. But at the same time, you don't really get the max value either, right? Like, let's say you put down a Legion Rearguard on turn 1, and then you put the Boom Crew Rookie on turn 2. Yes, he can kill your Legion Rearguard, but he has to use a Mystic Shot at the very least, or if he doesn't have it, even worse, he has to use a Thermal Beam. That's like 2 or 3 mana into a 1-drop, while your Boom Crew gets an open attack, and you get the very minimum 3 damage and a full HP Boom Crew Rookie, which means that for the next 2 turns, he can't threaten the unit at all, which means the Boom Crew will keep on getting value. And that's like the second point. Like, you really want to mulligan for 1-drops, but the second point is, if you have Boom Crew Rookie in the opening hand, you always keep it. You never mulligan it away. Simply because it's the strongest 2-drop for this deck and potentially in all of Runeterra. Like, let's think about it. On turn 2, if you drop the unit, your mana can have a maximum of 2 mana plus a spell mana. No spell can actually kill Boom Crew Rookie on turn 2. And no unit actually have 4 attack on turn 2. Which means that for Boom Crew Rookie, if you put him down on 2 and you have the attack token, you will get at the very minimum 1 attack for free, most likely 2 unless he uses secondary removal on it. And that means that for 2 mana, you get a Decimate with a 1/4 body. That's just insane, and it gives you so much value. So, keep Boom Crew in your opening hand, mulligan for 1-drops, and as a third rule of thumb, don't keep spells. There are some exceptions to this, but as a general rule of thumb, you want to make sure you have units on curve for the first like 2-3 rounds to get that chip damage in, and then you later on want to draw into the spells that finishes you the game. There are some exceptions to this, like for example, Noxian Fever is probably the biggest one. Against any kind of Shadow Isle deck and against most forms of PNC like Heimerdinger V, Karma Astral, you, as a general rule of thumb, want to keep a Noxian Fever in your opening hand. The reason for this is that, first of all, you can punish a greedy Shadow Isle deck that tries to heal early. And second, which is kind of the same point against Astral, if they hard commit to like a board removal, you can often punish them for it too. Like, if you see them tap out for a Mystic Shot or a Thermal Beam or anything like that, you're just like, yeah, okay, you just wasted all your mana and gave me 3 damage. Like, you paid mana to take 3 damage. Sure, you will lose a unit, but he doesn't really stop your win condition, which is getting damage to the face. So against any decks that have strong removal or healing, you want to keep that as an option. And you can even keep it like, let's say they have Eye of the Dragon, right? And they have casted 2 spells, so they will get their Lifesteal Dragon after. You want to keep the Noxian Fever in order to prevent the dragon from healing, for example. You can either take a block, or if he is blocking you, you sacrifice your unit and then you hit face with it. Sure, he can still remove the unit and deny the Noxian Fever in that case, but he still spends mana and gets no healing for it, which is really huge. Also keep in mind, you don't generally want to use Noxian Fever proactively. You want to wait for them to commit and then you punish them. The other card that you want to keep in mind and you often want to kind of play on, like keep in your opening hand, is Used Cask Salesman. So that's not a spell obviously, but Used Cask Salesman, especially against any kind of scout and any kind of Bannerman mid-range deck, is gonna give you a huge amount of value, because it won't actually speed up your win condition, but it will slow down the Bannerman and the Scout decks win condition by a lot. Because what they want to do is to rush you down as fast as possible with as many units as possible, but as long as you have the Used Cask Salesman, if they develop onto the board, you will hard punish them by getting 2 extra blockers for free. Which means that the Bannerman player and the Scout player can often just lose the game if they actually develop, and they have to respect it. So a lot of the times, even if you don't have the card, they don't develop because they don't want to get punished. It also prevents the Scouts from really using their Scout ability as like an open attack. Like, they have to commit with everything. And that's a really powerful effect. Like, it can often make you survive at the very least 1, if not 2 extra turns. And 1 to 2 turns is a lot when it comes to burn. Like, it allows you to play often like 1 more decimate. You can draw into like a mystic shot or an extra get excited. And it's those small margins which often help you close out that kind of game. So those are just like my general rules. I would say 1 more exception actually is Mystic Shot. If you're playing against the deep deck, you almost always keep Mystic Shot. And the reason is simple. Because there is a card called Dead Blossom. I was going to say Dead Blossom now. It's the 3 mana, 3/2 with lifesteal. That if left unchecked will get a lot of value. Like, at the very best it will, or at the very worst for the deep player, they will get 3 health and trade with 1 of your units. And that's often more than enough to stabilize. So a lot of the times you want to keep the Mystic Shot to kill that, because in effectiveness it keeps 1 of your units alive and it deals 3 damage. So it's a lot of value. And it can often win you the games in that matchup. So those are like the special cases. Otherwise, make sure to keep Boom Kuruki, try to mulligan for 1-drops, and your goal is to not have too many spells in the opening hand. So with that said, let's keep on going with the game and talk about some general matchup tips and how you want to maximize the win rate as a burn aggro player. Okay, perfect. So I'm just gonna talk over this game while I play and talk a bit about the general things that I'm taking into consideration and how it contrasts, for example, against other matchups, etc. So in this matchup, I don't want more than one drop. That's pretty useless in my opinion, and outside of Legion Rearguard, most 1-drops are not really good at all. In particular because of Wild Feast. Like, Wild Feast just shut down a lot of my 1-drops, like Precious Pet and Legion Saboteur. So I'm mulligan that way for sure. Used Cask Salesman is also something I'm gonna mulligan away, because I don't think he's gonna have enough board pressure that I need this unit. Crimson can be good. He has turn 2. Okay, I'm gonna keep Crimson because he has turn 2. And the reason for that is because he will have the proactive turn on turn 2, which means there's a big chance that he will play Elise, and that means that he taps out of mana for Thermo Beam. So I'm gonna play this then to not get punished by Thermo Beam, and in return I will be able to punish Elise if he plays it. Now he doesn't play Elise. I admit that is a bit worse for me. Then again, I have 2 Crimson Disciples in hand, which kinda makes me wanna play the Crimson here. Then again, what's the punish? Let's say I develop next turn. If I develop next turn, he could have Frenzied Skitter. Not every version runs it, but it's possible. Well, if I do... The thing is, if I pass here, I will have mana to develop Crimson Disciple and play Noxian Feather. I think the only punish, if I develop, is Skitterer. I don't think I can play around it. I can't afford it, so I'm gonna pass here. I don't like these cards. I don't want these burns this early. And especially Double Get Excited is really clunky, because I don't really have anything to discard. Decimate is fine, but I don't want to play that yet. So I'm gonna play Crimson Disciple. Skitter here can be pretty scary, but I can't play around it. I don't think I can afford to. And outside of that, it's gonna be hard for him to punish me. So he does have Skitter. That obviously sucks quite a lot. So he's gonna kill that for pretty much free. I could Noxian Feather here, but if he has Get Excited, that's a super hard punish, and I want to keep this to deny healing. So I'm just gonna have to let this get through. You know, it's not great, but I have gotten a little bit of damage at least. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to pass here. Whoa, 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 okay. So this is a bit of an off-meta version. I was thinking this was a Karina deck, but you never play these cards in Karina. Like, never. So that's really interesting. I mean, I don't think I have a choice here but to develop Crimson Disciple.
Oh, I can't wait.
I'm gonna do that. He's gonna get a fair amount of damage here. I don't think I can let all of this go through. I mean, this seems to be a bit of an off-brand version, and the only punish for a Feather here is... Get excited. Can I afford playing around that? I don't think I can. With this of an aggressive board, I think I have to block this, go for the Nox in Feather, and then try to hit him. But in general, this is not how you want to use it, because now I used it proactively, which means that he has the opportunity to punish. Now, he didn't have a punish, which is great for me, but if he had, for example, Get Excited, that would be like maybe even game losing for me, right? So you generally want to wait for them to commit before using it. And also against Shadow Isles in general, you want to keep it for healing. So yeah, I don't think I have much more to do here. Another Nox in Feather, that's pretty good actually. The problem is... Okay, so I'm gonna attack with this and see if it bothers taking a block. This might have been a misplay actually. Yeah, oh shit, yeah, this was probably a misplay. I was probably supposed to just keep it alive. I should probably have kept it back, because then, sure, I would have taken a lot of damage. But he would have had to use something before me. And that means I have a lot bigger chance of Nox in Feather going off. So the question is, do I take this trade? I'm afraid I might have to. Okay, so let's think about this. Do I have lethal? So I have 6 plus these 2. So I actually think I just take this.
I know what lurks.
So I'm just gonna have to use my Decimate here. And next turn I will have 6 mana plus the bank spell mana for Mystic Shot. Your Brood Awakenings.
Go ahead. Play with your food.
Is there any reason to use Mystic Shot now? I can't think of one. So I pass. Gonna pass back. At least it's gonna level up.
My true beauty is beneath the skin.
So yeah, I think it's all just gonna come down to whether it has healing or not. Wait, do I have enough? Yeah, I have enough mana. I had to think for a second there. So he does have lethal, but if he doesn't have healing, he dies here. And that's the thing, like, if you play a board-centric strategy, let's say this was Bannerman. Let's say I was not playing Shadow Isles, I was playing against Bannerman, and he had this huge board that was gonna threaten to kill me. If I had this hand, I would just automatically win, because before he could connect, I could kill him. And unlike Shadow Isles, something like Bannerman or Scouts, or, you know, pretty much any deck that's not Ionia or Shadow Isles, doesn't have healing. Which means that this would be like pretty much a guaranteed lethal. Now in this case, it's not very good odds. If he has any healing, I'm dead here. But, you know, that's the position I am in. This is a very rough matchup in general, and sometimes you just have to take the chance. Like, I don't really have a choice here, right? So it seems like it doesn't have healing. We'll see. Oh, never mind. It's a bait. Poro... Okay, so it's a Poro emote bait. That's fine, he's gonna win this game. That's cool. But ultimately, one of the big takeaways here is, okay, you know, you want to keep Nox in Feather to to counter healing. Like let's say he had used this on my unit instead, that would have been very useful. And that's also, if you play Karina, you generally want to use your healing spells on your own units, not on your opponents, because of Nox in favor. Because you don't really care about the board that much. So if you can guarantee getting a heal in, or you generally want to do that. Yeah, but as I said, against a lot of decks, you just want to play for that like final finisher burn condition. So after you've lost the board, you're like, okay, as long as I can stall like one turn, the next time he tries to attack me, I will just like get excited, Mystic Shot, Nox in favor, and there isn't a lot he can do to stop it. And that's like one of the key principles that you need to keep in mind when playing burn. So in the end, I hope this was useful to you. Hopefully it will allow you to climb the ladder. And if you liked it, you know, the usual drill, like, subscribe, comment, whatever. That's totally up to you, but hopefully I'll see you in the next one.